All right, so we have Stephen and Dom and Ahmed. Dom and I know Dom forever. He's almost like a brother to me, and I work with Stephen in NCR, and we get to know each other, and we become friends after that, and this is how we all know each other. And now Stephen knows Dom through this podcast. Anybody want to say anything, add it to the story or to the introduction?
I think you covered it.
All right, cool.
So I kind of wanted to discuss a little bit of my tech background.
Sure. Yeah.
I was introduced to development actually, through Ahmed. He kept bugging me because I used to be into modding phones and consoles and just messing with stuff like that. And he kept telling me like, oh yeah, you have to look into it. You have to look into it. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I listened to him. Turned out he was right.
Oh,
big win.
As always. Yeah.
Oh no.
Started the .NET stack, and as we know, .NET has kind of evolved and been more absorbed the open source world. So to that end, started messing with the mean stack at first. Then a little bit of Vue. Done some stuff with Mongo, React, Firebase. A bunch of the front end frameworks. So starting with, of course, jQuery to then Knockout to handlebars. To then AngularJS, Angular, React, Vue. Sure, there's stuff in between there. More recently, I've been digging into to Rust. I find very exciting because
Nice.
I think microcontrollers and edge computing is kind of interesting, at least to me. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And for work, I'm a enterprise CRM developer, and I work on the Azure cloud. Although I've dabbled with AWS, Heroku, DigitalOcean. I haven't gotten into the Google cloud yet, but it's only a matter of time at this point.
That's Stephen area here.
Are you a Google Cloud guy?
Yeah.
That's it's actually where I'm hosting my website right now, and so thank you for sharing your background. I can share mine really quickly. I did not get in development because Ahmed told me to. I had already made that choice.
Almost said mistake.
I did not say that. So I started off. As a student worker at the college I went to, Georgia College down in Milledgeville, and then there was a military college there, called Georgia Military College. I joined their IT department and started off messing around with just hardware, those kinds of things. Became a web developer, started off with PHP, MySQL. Wasn't the LAMP stack. It was I called it the WIMP stack, which was Windows, IIS, MySQL, and PHP, because that's what they started with. They had a developer who started before me many years ago, and he was a PHP developer, and they just kind of kept at it. And then as time went on, I started moving into more of the .NET framework stuff because they were still a Windows shop, and that's what they needed. It was more just being able to do a lot more with integrations and those kind of things in Active Directory, especially with students and single sign-on. And that's how I jumped into the .NET world. And then I left Georgia Military College, went to Georgia Pacific, a full stack role there, which was an MVC app with .NET, so SQL Server on the back end, C#, and then Razor Pages on the front with some jQuery, Telerik, JavaScript, HTML, all the fun stuff. And then left there for an API, a software engineer role at Park Mobile, more C#. I got exposure to more AWS there, did some Lambda development real briefly. And then time went on, I did a very brief stint at a company called SagePath as a CMS developer. Hated it.
Yeah.
It was not fun. It was Java based, so that made it worse. It was an Adobe product. I could go on. Left there for a contract at Brightwell. Was another back end integration, more C#, more SQL, messing around with the CRM software called HubSpot.
Oh yeah.
So that's what they were using, and so they needed integration between that. So we started that, and went somewhere, and then they changed heads of the engineering a couple of times, and by the end of my contract, it was in a state that it would import data, but I don't know if they ever used it. Left there for NCR, which is where I met Ahmed. My life got tremendously better. And I was there up until March when they had to let go of most of their contract.
Which a topic we need to talk about in a second. But yeah. So the first thing I was going to say, you worked with CMS in Java, like a CMS.
They did. Java has a CMS system called AEM, which is like, I think it stands for like Adobe Experience Manager.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about CMS development to begin with. It was just kind of, they presented the opportunity to me as like, this will be great. You'll get access to, you'll be exposed to all these technologies. And then I got there and they're like, this is what we want you to do. And I tried it. And eventually I was just like, no, it's not.
Yeah. I did SharePoint before and Into and some CMS projects, Spider and everything. So it's different, man. But I think, I'd rather do dev work. Yeah.
The folks that can dig their teeth into CMS, I mean, there's that's an entire career field if you can study.
Yeah.
And that's what SagePath had done. Is that's what their niche is they go out and they get these clients who are huge, like Southern Company, I think Coca-Cola, and all they call themselves a digital marketing agency, and they go out and they partner and they go, you don't have to deal with your website. We'll deal with your website. We'll create all, you give us the content, we'll put it together, we'll put all the project plans, and we'll do all this for you. And I was like, I don't want it. I was like, okay, why not? And then got in there and realized what it was, and it comes, you're right, it's a whole different career path, but it's got a whole slew of different problems about it.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Like we didn't own the code base, so it'd be like, oh, we can make an improvement here. No, we can't. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. I think it's kind of challenging in the beginning, but it gets stagnant at some point. There's like a learning curve, then it gets stagnant. I'd rather do full development, full stack, back end, front end.
Yeah.
We have those those PHP WordPress devs. They're out. I mean, they're out there grinding. I'm not knocking it.
No, absolutely not. I won't. It's just like that's a part of, like we mentioned SharePoint a couple of times here. I've been asked, like, do you want to be a SharePoint developer? And I'm like, absolutely not. I attempted to be at GMC. I was the SharePoint administrator and farm administrator, and I was like, I don't ever want to touch it again. I learned a lot about Active Directory federated services so that I wouldn't have to deal with SharePoint, so that I could get around it with a couple of things, just because SharePoint was so nasty to develop with when I was using it.
Yeah, which one did you use? Like 2008?
Like 2010.
Oh, 2010. Okay, that's okay.
So like it was. I know like in the later editions it got better, but I still have never met a happy SharePoint developer.
No,
that's a thing right there. You won't meet a happy one.
You're not going to meet a happy one.
Now, they might smile when they get in their nice car and their big house because they got to pay them a lot of money.
Not anymore. I mean, that was like a golden age, and now it's gone. I mean, really? I don't think SharePoint is as hot as now.
I know there's still some big companies out there that use it. I know Georgia Pacific was heavy used it. Like a lot of it, like it's intranet. That's what it was. And
yeah, I used to do a contract there, Georgia Pacific for SharePoint.
I know the CDC does because I had recently talked to them. And there's a couple other. You're not going to see it for small companies. I think NCR had it.
I'm pretty sure
they have those SharePoint salespeople. That's a sales team, man, because they sold the heck out of it.
Well, they sell you a dream.
Yeah,
they sold the heck out of SharePoint.
Well, I think it comes with Windows. You say like, we're going to give you Windows Server 2016 with SQL Server, right, and SharePoint and the whole package.
Really sure. I think you already have to own all that other stuff, and then they go, what's going to tie all that together? SharePoint. It's going to make all your dreams come true.
Well, actually, where I work right now, we're just pushing off of the original platform, which was built off of SharePoint. we, we try to push it to its limit. We try to do everything we could in index forms, like indexing and views, and just, we try to do as much as we could. It has its limitations, and I think it's because of the fact that it was designed for something very specific and then extended in a way that it wasn't designed to be extended.
Exactly, because I can't remember. I was talking to some Intercontinental Exchange, I think is the company. Like, they reached out and they're like, "Do you want to be a SharePoint developer?" And I was like, "No." They're like, "You don't understand. You're just going to consume SharePoint APIs." And I said, "Okay, well, that's different than being a developer." And then eventually got into, "You're going to be a developer." And I'm going to loop back to what I was originally going to say. Sorry. And it was like, I agree with you. Like, it was originally built for this one purpose, and then it just feels like it just got, everything got tacked on. Like, it's got workflows in it. It's got a CMS. It's got document storage. It's got calendar. It's got scheduling. It's just like, no one knows what it is anymore. It's just terrible, terrible hydra of just all these different features.
Yeah. So something we cannot avoid to talk about is COVID-19, how it affected everybody.
What is that?
It's a virus. It's a virus. I think you're from China.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So everybody, tell me how COVID affected their career, job, current situation. I know it's a loaded question.
Yeah. Dom, if you want to answer, go first.
So, for the company that I work for was impacted directly, since they deal with apartments. And apartments, providing services to apartments. Well, because of COVID, people are not leaving their apartments. They're not moving. They're not doing anything. Rightfully so. They're being cautious, which kind of brought the industry to a halt. But we had to have some furloughs and layoffs, it had a big impact on the company. Fortunately, the CEO I work with came up with this really good idea. He was able to pivot the entire company, actually, which is interesting because we had already built our new system to accommodate our existing business model. Once we pivoted, we found that a lot of the stuff that we built was able to be adapted into this new line of business, which is the standardization. We moved into the standardization of spaces. But, that is a real word, standardization, not one that I particularly like.
Yeah,
it's too many letters to me. But it is, it's the process of aerosolizing a solution that kills bacteria on surfaces.
Wow.
So we moved into that space, and luckily we had the system extensions that we had built for existing line of business. We were able to pivot and work into. So that's kind of been like my COVID experiences, learning about this whole other industry that's popping up, which is standardization.
Smart move. Yeah, but you know what? I was going to say, I feel like now we're more busier than before. Working from home, the days from like 7:30 till 7 o'clock, packed back to back and so forth. And how is working from home? I know Steven and also worked from home at the beginning of the COVID, and Dom, you working from home, and actually I work from home. I feel like you were more productive when you work from home, but the only thing, there's a time management issue. You work longer hours, you skip lunch. Yes, there's perk. You don't have to drive to the office. You don't have to change your clothes, and you don't have to do all this extra ceremony in the morning and in the drive back. But I feel like it's hard to communicate at home. Some people don't know how to communicate from home, right? They have to set up a meeting. You can do a chat in Teams or Slack or whatever you need to, but it's a lot of meetings back to back. But and also some people get affected where because of COVID, they had to, furloughs and cut hours and all this stuff. So I just want to hear what do you guys think about that from your end?
Sure. So I was one of the people affected by COVID. By NCR let go of the majority of their contractors. So since about the end of March, I've been looking for jobs. And it was only within like the past week that I feel like I guess companies are more comfortable with trying to hire people again. So,
and may I add, you were a team lead to a very important project in NCR, which XLR
Thank you.
Emerald, right?
Thank you.
And
That's right, internet world. Whoever listens to this in the future,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am ready to start working.
Yeah, and we worked with actually the newest technology, the hardware-wise, .NET, Java backend, single R, and up secure technology front end, something called React, I think.
Mhm.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it. It's something from Facebook. It's weird, but actually, even when we started React, there we started with the hooks and
You
the
did.
functional programming and TypeScript. So it was kind of interesting project.
It was. We were, come to find out, we were pretty bleeding edge when we started that project because
Right.
hooks had only been out. I think they came out in like February of 2019, and we started like in April.
Right.
So they were really untested. And I think we kind of lucked out. That is,
Mhm.
no one else knew enough to be like, hey, I don't think that's at NCR to go, I don't think you should use those yet. Those are still untested.
Right. Yeah.
So-
And make it work with the hardware as well. From
Yes.
web solution work with the hardware through single R and gRPC and so forth. So it was an interesting project, to be honest with you. And that's just to give background how important the project was and how the whole thing unfolded.
So,
Yeah.
you guys mentioned, and I think between the three of us, we've probably seen a whole slew of technologies. Sounds like a lot of stuff that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
To that end, I wanted to ask the question. Now that we're moving into a more DevOps world, right, where we have infrastructure as code, and we have, you can add a pipeline to your repo so that when you check in, it builds and releases. You can containerize your project so that it gets released as a container, and then gets absorbed into a cluster. What do you guys think of the absorption of really these separate roles into the developer role? Because I don't know, maybe it's my perspective, but I feel like the days of the developer who just did .NET or who just did the front end or the back of the front end. I feel like there's these other roles being absorbed in and added to the developer. What do you guys think about that?
Not only DevOps but also QA. QA had to deal with automation and scripting and all this extra technical stuff. They actually right now BDD, and they use like Pythons and Java and so forth. So even everybody's actually has to write a script of some sort. Yeah. DevOps, they have to write their, and even if you go to the cloud, you have to write those templates. But I think in general, the population is getting more technical, right? I've seen a lot of younger high school, middle school kids writing Unity games and getting a little more technical than normal. So I don't know. It seemed like everybody going to be technical. Yeah. Even I think the PMs and the BAs. What do you guys think? I know Steven had that look saying like, I disagree with everything here.
That is not that look.
This is.
I like that. There's more opportunities for development for younger kids and those kinds of things, because it wasn't there when I was in high school. And but I guess to go back to Dom, what you were saying, I've definitely noticed that, where you're right. It's very rare where it's like, hey, we need a developer. As long as they have 5 years of C# experience, that's all they're going to do. Now it's sure. Do you have that 5 years of C# experience? But do you have any experience with the cloud? Or do you have any experience with Jenkins or Terraforms or in those kinds of things? And I think honestly, it kind of depends on what company you're going for. Like NCR was, I'll speak to, since that's where I was there last. I had to dabble a little bit in those like other areas, especially because on the team that Ahmed and I were on, like I handled Jenkins a little bit. Like I helped set that up, but like I was like, I don't have the training to do that right now. I didn't really have any experience with it. So I had to learn it very quickly. But it's definitely one of those where it's like companies want you to have exposure to it, I guess, and maybe know some of the pitfalls of like, hey, what's it? Why is it so much, why develop for just a regular desktop application or a regular website opposed to, how is that going to change when you start developing against, something in the cloud?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so it kind of, there are some, design patterns and those kind of things that you have to watch out for. But
yeah, running
any company is like, I need you to be a master of development and a master of DevOps and a master of this. That's just a company that's just trying to save money.
Yeah,
you're probably going to get burned out really quickly.
Sure. I mean, even startups, probably that's what's going
Yes.
on. Like startups will probably need that. But you know what's funny? I know I hear a lot of companies saying that they want there's somebody that can do one thing and one thing only. Like they say, if you're full stack, then you're not good at anything. You're just like a mile, a mile wide, an inch deep, and everything, and you're not really good at one thing.
A jack of all trades, master of none.
But
which is bad because I do enjoy full stack development. Just
yeah, me too. Yeah.
I feel like development ADD, where it's like if I work on the front end for like 3 days in a row, I'm like, I want to work on something else.
Yeah.
What else is it? I don't know, but I let me go look at how what's going on in the database layer, or what's going on in C#.
Exactly, and actually it forces you to be very efficient when you send data back and forth from the front end to the back end, because you know what's needed and what's not needed. But if you have different teams, maybe that's what might be a problem. Like
Yeah. I mean, Park Mobile was kind of like that, where it was like there was the back end team, and there were front end teams, and they would start working on something. Ideally, it was the back end should have already had some stuff done. And then it was like, okay, your endpoints are ready for you to start using and start testing. But it felt like Park Mobile did it backwards. It was like the backend team would start. I don't even think sometimes it felt like the UX team hadn't even done anything. So it's like, well, if we don't know how we want it to be used, and what am I building right now? You're telling me you just want a bunch of data. I don't feel like that's right. Which turns out that was more of like a BDD kind of thing of like, how do you want to use this feature? And those were questions I just didn't know how to ask at the time. But
Now, I have had a really positive experience with. I worked on a project where we had some outside contractors come in, and they built a Vue front end, and I was just the API guy, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, so basically, they told me, okay, here's a data object that we want. Just give us an endpoint.
Okay.
And that's all. And that's all I did. It was so much fun. It was a .NET Core 2.2. Had just come out, so I was playing with that, and that's a blast. When you think back to the days of Entity Framework, and then you look at EF Core, I mean, it's a world of difference. A Fluent API, but building that was just fun. Because I would just build I'd give them their endpoints. Like we had a great like agile sprint life cycle going.
Okay.
It just worked great.
Yeah.
And then by the time that it was finished or almost finished, and I inherited the front end, so I got to like work in Vue, and that's when I fell in love with Vue. It's my favorite front end framework. I like React. Okay.
So let me ask you this about Vue. So Vue, you have to have the script, the template, and the CSS in the same file. I mean, that's what the native layout of Vue. Do you like that? Having everything in the same. I mean, you can even say silo or something like that. You can say the CSS only for this page. Or do you like that? Because my home project is Vue, but I don't know. I think kind of like React a little bit more.
Well, so here's the thing. I don't like JSX.
Okay. Really?
That's a controversial thing to say. That is super controversial.
Okay.
At the end of the day, they're all doing the same thing, right? You're just templating. You're templating data onto an HTML document.
Mm.
I think it's just a personal preference thing. I mean, they both do the same thing. I like the stuff that's baked into Vue,
Mm-hmm.
where because Vue is a framework, React is a library, right? And
Exactly.
that distinction, that distinction really comes in a focus, like when you start doing like when you start adding packages and routing and start really getting into like heavy duty usage. And the argument can be made both ways, in my opinion. I mean, with Vue, it's nice that it's baked in, but then what if you don't need it? Then you've got all this extra overhead,
That's true.
And with React, it's a la carte. Whatever you need, just pull the package down, and there's everything and anything under the sun. I mean, it seems like everything's migrating towards being, React, React friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So like even like some npm packages have a dependency on React. Where I used to believe that npm packages were all going to be just interchangeable, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you pull down a package, you're all excited about it, and it says, "Oh, dependency on React." You're like, "Hey,
Oh,
yeah."
I mean, I can see that because I think the framework aspect is really nice because, like you said, it's you already know how you're going to handle your routing, you know how you're going to handle this, and you know that. Whereas like Ahmed and I, we can attest where we would go searching through. What's going on here?
Oh, okay. So I love
unlimited minutes.
Woo-hoo. Today? Okay.
That's what that little pop-up just said.
I just say okay to whatever pop-up I see.
I was going over on my minutes, so thanks, guys.
Yeah. So the first 4 minutes is free, and we have to pay for the rest of it. So we get free.
I mean, you can do free trials up to like 45 minutes. That's how we do it with some of the theater people.
Nice. Look at you.
But anyway, yeah, like Ahmed and I, we definitely ran into it where it's like we knew we need routing, or we need. What was one of the last big things? We wanted to do something with Redux. Well, there were all these different packages for all these different, and it was just like, which one do we want to use? And sometimes it's like, I really wish that
Immer
opinion on this, where it's like,
right.
You are Angular, like you're gonna do routing. Well, boom, we already have that feature baked in for you.
Right, okay, and I think we had something with the Immer, right? When we start using Immer, and there was a discussion.
And we did that just to cut down on some of the boilerplate with trying to use Redux with React, where it was just like we were writing the same stuff over and over and over and over again, and it was just like all this can be just abstracted away somewhere, or I don't have to see it.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, I like the project we worked on in that project because it's. We had to figure out a lot of things, and we had to make the right decision, and the whole team had to work together to get it done and figure out, right?
It wasn't that project. You're going to love my new project that I'm going to be working on. It's also a point of sale. It's called Fool's Gold.
Fool's Gold. I like that.
Because I don't know what the real name for Fool's Gold really is. And I couldn't call it Jade or anything because I don't want to get sued for copyright infringement.
Yeah, no.
So it's not going to be green.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that.
So, Steven, can you tell me about your site on the Google Cloud?
Sure. So it was just it's a personal site of mine that I've just started building once I found myself with this unexpected downtime. It is a React TypeScript application right now that's just going to host. It's got my resume out there right now that I've been messing around with, trying to get it formatted, and it will hold also list out a bunch of different projects that I've worked on in my personal time. It was just, for me personally, I felt like once I had that, it would be a lot easier for me to start talking to other people, and they didn't have to they didn't have to guesstimate as hard about maybe where my skill set was, because like these days it's like I go to apply and they're like, well, do you know what a for loop is? Or take this hacker rank challenge and do this. And it's just like, I'm not a recent grad. I know a little bit, but
all right.
I started doing that, but it was, I'm sorry, Ahmed.
I was going to say for in your defense, Steve, so I was a tech lead on the project. The only person that I was kind of trusting with decision making was you, Steve. Because you always thought about what's important to the client and what's important for that sprint or that iteration, right? So you have the soft skill and the hard skill, right?
Oh, thank you.
And interview is very hard to see that side of things, right? So
It is. I mean,
you know, knowing the loops and knowing all the trickery of writing a quick program is important, yeah. But you know, find a solution, somebody that will help you see what's important in the project is hard to find in 1 hour interview. I'll be honest with you, or 2 hours interview.
I agree, and I think that just kind of goes down to, and I'm sorry, Dom. I'll finish my tangent, and then I wasn't done with the site thing. Somebody interrupted us.
Yeah, I want to hear about the stack. You know.
Yeah. So, but I agree, and I think that just kind of goes down to, you know, I deal with a bunch of recruiters these days, and so they have a very strict list of requirements, and if I don't check off a certain amount, they're like, nope, they're not going to, you know, the recruiter might say fine, but then the account manager's like, no, just axe it right there. And so it's like, okay, but anyway, back to the tech stack, which is what we really want to talk about. Who cares about soft skills? So it is hosted out in GCP right now. It is containerized. It's not running in a Kubernetes cluster because I was having some issues when I eventually was trying to get it deployed. When I found out that I think one of the Nginx container that I was using, like I had to modify the config so that it knew to expose the right port. But right now it just runs like in the Google Cloud Run, I think is what it is, which is it just runs like a single container. So it's out there. StevenOrSteve.com is what it's called. We'll say it. See if I get some foot traffic here. Hey.
Sure.
I've got some ideas of what I wanted to do with it. Great.
Scary.
I'm taking it down. Like I wanna store some of my information in like a Mongo instance. So I've been messing around with like how do I want to achieve that? Like one, I was like, do I want to stand up an instance of Mongo that's just kind of out there? And that's kind of the road I'm going down right now. So I've been writing a Docker file to just deploy that, which this will be the first time I've ever had a GitHub repository that is a Docker file, because that's what I need for Cloud Build, to figure out what I need, and it'll go through and it will set it up. It knows what version of Mongo I want to use, and then it will seed it and set up all the authentication that I need. So I got to figure out a couple of things with like environment variables or secrets in GCP, but right now the stack is just React and TypeScript. And then I think eventually there'll be an API layer that will, I think I'll probably start off with probably C#, .NET Core, just because that's what I'm most familiar with, and then go from there.
Ooh, so you're gonna do .NET Core to the Mongo?
Yeah. So the Mongo instance will live off by itself, and then there will be potentially a third container that will be the API, and then those two will, you know, have their own access and things. And luckily, since it can live in GCP, I can, once I get the API layer down, I can take off the public access for the container that has Mongo and go only traffic from here, so Ahmed's hacker buddies can't get into it and change my resume information.
GraphQL, yes or no?
I haven't used enough of it. It seems fun. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of being able to hit one endpoint and get everything that I want without having to hit multiple endpoints and then aggregate everything. It's nice that logic has been moved but down another layer. It's like you hit this endpoint and it knows what you want.
Well, you have like the onus is on you.
Yeah.
You tell it what the data object looks like.
Yes. You're right. So yeah, it's one of those. I've never got a chance to use it. What about you? What do you feel about it?
I don't know. I haven't used it in enterprise yet. I played around with it myself, using React. I don't know. Maybe I'm stuck. I like endpoints, man. I mean,
I like endpoints too, but I've definitely been in that scenario where it's like, okay, I need information from here, and now I got to get information from here, and then everything just kind of has to fit into this. And so it was like, I saw that at Park Mobile a lot, where it was like, our one of the Android developers that I worked with at the time was like, you don't understand. I'm going to use an example because I don't remember. He's like, let's say I need to get lot information for this. He's like, I've got to hit 4 different endpoints to get all that. He's like, I wish that was aggregated. And I was like, well, that sounds like something that we could probably use GraphQL, maybe. Once again, I was like, I don't know. It sounds like it could be done that way. And we just never could get buy-in to like, let's just test it out with something. Why not?
So I would be a big proponent of test it out.
Yes.
But like with ES6, like you can do so much stuff with arrays in JavaScript now.
Yes.
In terms of like find and like and the way that you can manipulate your arrays, it's almost like LINQ and Lambda, man. Like I love that. I mean, it's fun. To me, it's fun.
Okay. Yeah, I've done some crazy things with the arrays. I think I'm using Filter with my website right now.
That's cool.
That's what separates my professional and my personal experience. Is that one little conditional statement?
There you go.
Ahmed, what do you think?
I was going to ask you, but the API, would you use Nest.js as well as an option?
I think I probably would. Just because I know, one, we got to use it a little bit at NCR. So I would like to, sate my curiosity with it just a little bit, just to see like, okay, why are they claiming that this is an enterprise ready solution? Like, what is it that this is having, does this actually have over Node?
But
it's a Node framework, but it's just like, okay, why does this exist? What problem was this created to solve?
Which says something. If it's your own project, you would rather go to .NET Core, like in a .NET Core solution.
Web API is something that I already have experience with, and if I just want to get this up there quickly, I know that I can get an API layer built in a day to read information from a Mongo instance very quickly, and then it wouldn't take long to set all it up, even though it would be in .NET Core, just because it's like while there are some changes to Web API, it was just like I've built a couple of API endpoints already with .NET Core, so I'm pretty confident that I can do it again.
Nice.
So what I like about .NET Core 3.1 is that everything is asynchronous now. It actually will, depending on the environment, but they prefer, and they've made it so that you do everything asynchronous. So when you're using EF Core, everything is async. I deployed an Azure function, and I was trying to be a caveman and make it work, synchronously, and it was like, nope, not with 3.1.
Get on it and get out of here with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to use EF Core yet, but was it I thought it was
heard a lot of good things about
change from just regular EF. What'd you say, Ahmed?
No, I heard a lot of good things about it, performance-wise, ease, but it's totally different. I agree with you. I know we tried to look at it in NCR, and there was a lot of changes, like rudimentary kind of changes. Like it's totally I wouldn't say totally different, but there's a lot of changes in it that you have to know what you're doing. You learn. So it's not like you have a project in .NET Standard or .NET 4.5 like EF, then you just convert it to EF Core. But it seemed like, Dom has some experience in it, and I'm kind of curious to see
the biggest thing that sticks out to me is that you basically, and this is maybe a controversial opinion, I'm sure there's people out there that are doing it, but you don't need the unit of work anymore. So we used to use a unit of work pattern so that we could change out our database, right? Like we can change whatever the data provider was, and we had this abstraction layer. Well, with EF Core, you don't need that anymore. It would almost be redundant to build another layer of abstraction on top of what they provide. So that's kind of nice too. You don't have to worry about wiring that up. I mean, not that it's a big deal, but I mean, I remember when I was learning dependency injection, and I was learning how to use named instances because we had different data sources. So I'd have we'd have a unit of work for this database, and work for that database, and then I'd have to figure out which one I needed to use, and it was always it was was it the entity type it was a very specific error, but the entity type of something or entity is not part of this context or something.
Oh,
does that sound familiar? Is it vaguely familiar?
It kind of does, but
entity type is not defined in the context, so something like that.
Okay.
But man, I hated that error, and it always came back to whatever repository I was referencing. I hadn't set up the unit of work correctly. Well, no more unit of work. You deal with the context directly. And it's nice. Not to mention, you can still use in .NET Core, you can still use an inject or a structure map if you wanted to, but EF Core comes with DI built in, so you can just use their DI.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about an external dependency.
Yeah. That's one thing good about Core.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I want to know a little bit more about realistically what we go through as developers in this industry, right? So how you guys keep up with the latest and greatest? Things are changing so much, and there's so many things going on in this industry. What do you guys do, to keep up?